Hey guys, happy Pride Month 2024. This year I wanted to do things just a little bit differently and make a video specifically for the parents of children who are possibly LGBT+. I'll also towards the end give a little recap of last weekend that I spent in Annapolis for the Pride Parade. So give me a like while the intro plays. Okay, so I was in Annapolis last weekend for the Pride Parade. I had a great time, and I have to admit something. I was moved. There were so many straight couples there, so many straight parents with their children, and they were all wearing, they had gay pride hats and shirts and flags and buttons and boas and all of this stuff. And I don't know. You can call me whatever, but there's just something about seeing a straight man being so comfortable within himself to wear the gay pride and to allow his children to do the same. It just makes me think of this perfect utopian world where all of the dysfunction and hatred was removed, and just for one moment to have a glimpse into what that world could possibly look like. It really did move me, and it had me in my feels. I really got teary-eyed just watching these folks walk by. It also inspired me to make this video because as a gay dude of a certain age, throughout the years, I've had many friends who are parents and have said, I think my daughter might be, I think my son might be, what do I do? And I've even had some who have said, I hope you're not offended, but I don't know if I'm okay with this. I'm struggling with the fact that my child could be like this. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a licensed professional, so this is strictly, and I didn't even do much research because I didn't want this video to be about that. I wanted it to come from a gay child and giving the advice that I wish that my parents would have gotten in dealing with me. One thing that I can be sure of is that it would have made a world of difference, at least for this gay kid. Okay, so of course, regardless of what the situation is, you should always have open dialogue, open communication with your kids. They should be comfortable enough to say whatever they're feeling inside. So hopefully that's established. But in the situations where you're possibly thinking about having this conversation with your child, these are the bits of advice that I wrote down that I wanted to share with y'all. First off, there is no one is at fault. Please do not assign blame. Please do not think about who is at fault here. When you do that, the only thing you're doing is that you're making your child feel like there's something wrong and bad about them. And I know, again, you might be struggling with that thought yourself, but there's nothing wrong with your child. Even I'm gonna use the rabbit ears, even if they're different, it's not wrong. And assigning fault is only gonna make them feel that way, and it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna help the situation at all. So please don't do that. Second bit of advice, which is kind of similar, but it's don't ask why. Why are you like this? What did I do wrong? You might have all of these questions. Something to remember is that you're the adult and they're the child. And so if you have these questions, if you're not sure, most likely your child is not going to have the answers to that. They are most likely going through this internal struggle, trying to figure themselves out. It's so difficult, it's so complicated, and there's so much stuff that gets involved that to expect an answer from your child is kind of, you're not going to get anywhere with that. Again, there are therapists that can help you with that. Science explains a lot of this stuff, so you can find the answers, but thinking that it's going to come from your child, not likely. You might get some insight, but definitive answers, you're not going to get, because again, they probably don't have the answers to give. Another bit of advice that I've actually had to say this multiple times. Having these talks with your kid is not gonna make them gay. It's not gonna be like, oh, maybe they were straight, but because I was so open, maybe they decided to explore this side of themselves and now they're gay. No, science has debunked that. That does not happen. And I keep having to say this. Can anyone sway your sexuality? You are who you are and they are who they are. They're going to be who they're going to be. And I know that it might get confusing because, you know, for most of us, especially from back in the day, you have like gay, you have straight, and then you have like 50-50 bi. That's kind of like how we grew up thinking. But in that scale, in that Kinsey scale, there are so many other notches to where all of us, we fit somewhere there. And so you have these people who, as your life develops, they're still trying to figure themselves out. It's not something that when you become an adult, when you're 18 or 21, you're like, oh, okay, I got the answer. Some people, it's a struggle that goes on for many, many years. I've spoken to so many dudes who are 60 plus and lived this straight life and had kids, and the entire time they knew exactly who they were, but in trying to fit society, they denied themselves. So many different examples, but ultimately you are who you are, and you're gonna end up where you're gonna end up. Now, you may deny that, and a lot of people do. A lot of people live lives to where they're denying who they really are, but you're not ever gonna change that. Ultimately, we all know who we are, and as we get older, that becomes more certain of who we are. So having that talk, it ain't gonna change a thing. If anything, it's only gonna help them get to where they eventually are going to end up anyway. And so isn't that what you want, right? Don't you want to help your kid become who they're supposed to be? That's all that's gonna happen with that. Again, I know it's hard. There's all these other things that tell us that's not the case, but it is. Next bit of advice is you have to give up on the dream. And this is something like I remember back in the day where LGBTQ plus folks had limited options, and it was like parents would hear it: give up on the dream. You're a gay son, you're a lesbian daughter, they're not gonna have kids, they're not gonna get married, just give it up. Today's a different day, right? Gay folks can get married, and gay folks can adopt, and IVF. Like, there's all these different ways for gay folks to actually have kids. But in a general piece of advice, you still have to give up on the dream, because ultimately they will never live up to your dream the way that you dreamt it. And the thing is, again, it's their life, and it's for their opportunity to have their dream and to live out their dream. You still have to give it up. Give it up anyways. Next bit is kind of going back to the initial beginning of this is listen. There's so many kids out there. I wish that my parents would have just had this environment where they allowed me to speak and then they just listened. And so many times that doesn't happen. Parents think they know better and they have to insert their 2 cents, and because that, they shut down. They shut their kids from actually speaking. And sometimes, if the goal really is to understand your child and to get a feel of where they're at, sometimes that's all you have to do. Just give them that environment to speak and then listen, and they will just blah, 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 blah. Just tell you everything that they're feeling inside. And maybe sometimes that's all you need, and that does a world of difference. So just listen, because some people do need some type of numbers. I just wanted to, this is from the trevorproject.org, but just so you guys know, if you're thinking about maybe I shouldn't do anything about this, suicide is the leading cause of death among young people aged 10 to 14, and is the third leading cause of death among 15 to 24-year-olds, which those numbers within just by themselves are bonkers to think of that. But LGBTQ plus young people are 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. So if you don't think that this is a necessary conversation that you need to have, that something you have to deal with now, I'm telling you, you're wrong. And so that leads me to my last bit of advice that I wanted to give you. Regardless of what you're going through, you have to meet your child where they're at. So if you're not there yet, that's cool. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, that you are at least thinking about progressing and moving forward. But if your child is ready to be open and honest with you and tell you things that they have been feeling and processing for so much of their lives, meet them there and tell them that you're going to love them and accept them regardless. Again, even if you are not 100% there, meet them there, because I'm telling you, the alternative, you can't have parents like mine who years later, as I was an adult, they let me know that they were okay with who I was. But guess what? The damage was done. So many years, so suicide attempts, so much depression and struggle that I went through thinking that my parents wouldn't be okay with it. And had I known, or had they done the work then and then became okay with it sooner, had we had this open conversation, gosh, so much crap that I went through, that I'm still going through, that I'm still trying to get over because of that. I am telling y'all, meet your kid where they're at. And if they're ready to open up and be themselves to you, meet them there and fix yourself. Do the work that you have to do to meet them, because eventually they're going to be who they are and you're gonna have to meet them there anyway, right? Okay, so now on to the Annapolis Pride Parade. Like I mentioned before, I had a fantastic time, but my planning was terrible. Hey guys, I'm a little late, but I made it. I'm in Annapolis for the Pride Festival. I missed a bunch of the parade because silly me. I decided to get there like at 11:30, but I wanted to eat first, and I went to the Chop Tank, which was a restaurant. They're not paying me, by the way, but a restaurant that I saw the last time I was in town. I thought, next time I'm going there. And the food was fantastic. And since this is Gay Pride Month and I become super gay when I talk about food, I'm just gonna show you some pictures and describe what I had. For an appetizer, I had this like goat cheese, but it had blood orange slices with it, and a lavender honey glaze, and there was this baguette that was like grilled and kind of smoked, so there was like this smoky element to it. Oh my gosh, it was so freaking good. And then for dinner, I had a lobster roll. To be honest with y'all, I mean, it was a great lobster roll, but because I realized, oh my gosh, the parade started at 12 and it's actually going on now, I kind of like scarfed it down and just left. Okay, and so here's just a little bit of footage that I got from the parade. Again, I missed a lot, but I did get a little bit of stuff, so here's that. Hey guys, so as promised, here I am at Pride Fest in Annapolis. It's actually a lot more people than I expected to be here, but it's awesome. The energy here is fantastic. You just feel the love everywhere. It's great.
¿Dónde están los latinos, Annapolis, latinos? Woo! Come on. Happy Pride.
Okay, so I love my gays and I love my horses. So look what we have here. Gay horses. Who knew? Okay, and after the parade, I decided to walk around town. If you guys haven't been to Annapolis and you live like somewhere in the area, I would recommend stopping by. It's a beautiful little town. Like, it's the capital, and it kind of has that like old America, like with the architecture, with the bricks, and just it's a fantastic, beautiful city just to walk around. And it's really hilly and just kind of super cool. Hey guys, so it's been a long day. I finally made it to my hotel. I'm staying at the Courtyard by Marriott in Annapolis. I'll do a little spin so you can see the room. It's a nice room. Quick little story about Courtyard and why I like them. After I got out of the military, I was looking for a job, like any job. There wasn't anything really close by to where I lived at the time. And so I went to the Target, and and I went to Target, and the employee that I spoke to first, even though I had spoke to her in English, for some reason she just assumed that I didn't speak English. So it was this whole thing, okay, you go that way. Like, she really was talking to me, and I'm like, I said hello, like I spoke in English. Anyway, so I go up to where the manager is at, and he greets me by trying to talk in broken Spanish. And when I said hi, then he's like, "Oh, you speak English?" "Yeah, I do." So he was super stoked. I mean, I thought maybe they might make me a cashier or some, customer service or something like that. But no, he wanted to stick me in the garden center so that I could translate for all of the Latin folks that work there. And that really, it bothered me. I'll admit that, but I needed the job. So I was willing to do it. And he gave me the paperwork to do my urinalysis. On the way there, I just so happened to walk by a Courtyard by Marriott. Decided to just let me go in and say, "Hey, are you guys hiring?" It was a fantastic interview where the general manager had the employees interview me while he watched the front desk. And it was for a front desk position, of course. So yeah, so I'm being interviewed by like 6 different women. They were fantastic. They offered me the job right there and I took it right there, and that was it. Because of that, I had a fantastic experience working for Courtyard. That's why I ended up working in different hotels and motels and resorts and timeshares. Like, I have over 10 years of that because of my experience working at Courtyard. So it has a soft place in my heart, and I love Courtyard. Okay, so even though I am extremely tired and I am so ready to hit the sack, go to sleep. I know that I'm gonna be hungry in about an hour, so I might as well just grab something to eat, and then I can come back and then hit something. Bye. Now I'm having a coconut mojito. It is freaking delicious. Okay, so I'm back in the hotel room now, and I just had to share this with you guys. It's so weird how the universe kind of works sometimes. But you know that story I mentioned earlier about working at Target and them speaking to me in Spanish? So when I went over to Mimo's, now it's, it's an American bistro, so just regular typical American fare. But when I walk in, there's like 5 Latin employees at the door, and they all greeted me in Spanish and they all shook my hand, which was like super cool. So they sat me down, and I thought, the waitress comes over and she starts talking to me in Spanish. But I thought, maybe I need to go with this. Maybe for some reason, every single interaction was in Spanish, which is the first time that I've done that in a long time. So it was good to kind of flex my chops. But yeah, it's just weird how things happen sometimes, right? Hey guys, so I'm back in the room now, finally in bed. I'm just watching a little TV, ridiculousness, which is a guilty pleasure of mine. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I had a blast making this video. It was a great day. Yeah, I think all of us, we should all take a me day every once in a while where you just spend an entire day by yourself, just reflecting and thinking and, doing whatever it is that you do. So yeah, I can barely keep my eyes open. So, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Good night. So one last thing that I wanted to say is that I made my Q&A video, I think like in January, and I was really thinking no one wants it. No one cares. Maybe, perhaps you might do another one a year from now, but I've actually have had a couple of people asking me when I was gonna make another Q&A, and I actually have questions already for that. So I'm working on that video. I'm gonna make that, but in the process, I just wanted to throw it out there for all of y'all. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, feel free to comment in this video, or like before, you can reach out to me on Instagram, on X, and also on Facebook. You can message me, and then I'm an open book.